Hey everyone, it's Hydro Pump here. Today I'm going to be going over the deck I played at Nationals for the Edison Ultimate Time Wizard Tournament. The tournament was a lot of fun. Um, I didn't do the best in the tournament with Dragons. I played Dragon Turbo. Um, but I just want to talk about the deck, cool things that came up, and just like good plays I made, some bad plays I made, and how it affected my run, I believe, and just give the overall feel for the deck. So yeah, just like leading up to this tournament, I was kind of unsure if I wanted to play Black Wings or Dragon Turbo. So Friday night there was like some box tournament um, at Underworld Games. It's a local store in Raleigh, and so I went there with there's a lot of good players there. I think it was like 60-person tournament, and I decided to play Black Wings, and I think I went like 3-2 there. And I pretty much had to go like X1 to top, I think. So I just didn't really, I wasn't really feeling Black Wings. I was like, okay, I'm gonna play Black Wings tonight, and if it goes well, I'll just play Black Wings for the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament. If not, I'll play Dragon Turbo. And considering I made this deck and Black Wings didn't go so well, I just, I'm the creator of Dragon Turbo. I kind of felt obligated to play for the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament. Um, and despite not doing too well in the tournament with Dragon Turbo, I'm still kind of I'm happy I played because if I just played stuck it with Black Wings and not did Black Wings, I was like, man, I kind of wish I played Dragons. Whereas like obviously I want to do well, but I still had fun playing with this deck, and it didn't it didn't really let me down. Like I didn't like hardcore brick. Maybe I think maybe like 1 or 2 games. Like the deck was very consistent overall. It was just like, and I'm playing the Ghost Rider build for the most part. I just wanted to try it out. The side's a little different. The extra and the main deck are the same. So I just kind of wanted to talk about some things with the deck that came up. Um, but yeah, and I think the Ultimate Time Wizard tournament had like over 300 players or around 300. I keep on hearing different numbers of what was that, but yeah, I'm just gonna talk about the tournament or just like the deck list and just like how my rounds went, and then I'll jump into like some cool situations that came up. So yeah, obviously 3 red mid, 3 blue eyes. I mean all this monster like 12 staples. Played the guard. I think guard came out one time where I summoned it under Drago, but it's just another card's a constants target, so it's okay. Uh, Other than that, it wasn't really too crazy. Tragodia was good. Now normally I play Gores in my build, but we did this Ghost Rider build with Reckless Greeds and stuff. And there was times where it was very hard to find Tragodia as like defense. Like it's like okay, I need to find Tragodia or I die. And there was a few times where I actually died because I couldn't find Tragodia. So and Tragodia was very good itself, but I felt like because I always felt like just having Gores and Trag was very good, but playing Gores gives you its own problems, but because you can't like set all your back row before you go Rejuve combo, which having the back row does help sometimes, but most of the time it's like okay, if you have the six broken cards from your deck, like you're just probably gonna win. Whereas like if Rejuve doesn't go all, like insane, then like those cards that you just set are can still be good, and Gores conflicts with Future Fusion as well. So it's like, can I activate Future Fusion with when I have Gores? It's a little weird sometimes, and then you can also consider playing Battle Fader, but Battle Fader can get hit by Oppression. It doesn't have quite the same upside as Tragodia and Gores, but if your life points are really low, say you're at like 1,000 life points and you go Rejuve combo, Fader can save you, whereas Tragodia and Gores can't save you. So they all have their upsides. Like I think Tragodia is the best out of the three, but I don't know. I feel like you probably want a second one just like for insurance that you're gonna like live or just like Gores can be really good for like offensive plays. Like it says like 2 big bodies. You can synchro with the token with Whitestone. So like there's a this deck list is good, but I feel like not having a utility there, it can really mess you up in certain game states, which definitely happened a few times. But like going for consistency and just you know going for consistency is gonna get you out of like most situations where you probably don't need the extra utility, but there is some times where the extra utility will save you. So just kind of like going between those two is it's a little tough, and you're only really considering like 3 or 4 cards difference, like reckless greeds or no reckless greeds, vortex troopers or no vortex troopers, which can make it or break it for you in this deck. So just trying to find like the perfect mix. Uh, it's a little hard with this deck because again, it's a turbo deck. You're meant to draw through your entire deck, so you're seeing all your cards. So most decks, it doesn't really matter if you're playing like one spicy tech because you're a lot less likely to see that card. Whereas this deck, you're more likely to see your cards, like most of your cards, like you're going through like your entire deck. So yeah, just something that's like defense. Like I'm still like I lost, I got killed by Blackwings one game, whereas like, and I think there was another game where I died, where it's like I couldn't find the Tragodia, and there was one time where I had to, so I was at 6 cards in deck. I was under Reckless Greed, so I wasn't gonna draw again. But I didn't want to go under 2 cards in deck, so I can activate Pot Avarice. But since I did not find the Tragodia when I had 6 cards left in deck, I had to activate another Rejuve to draw for 5. So it puts me down to 1 card in deck. I can't activate Pot Avarice because you need 2 in deck to activate Pot Avarice. So it just really put me in an awkward situation. Whereas if I had 2 defensive monsters like Gores or Fader added as well, then it would have just like prevented that whole situation. I think I still managed to win that game, but it made it a little harder just because I couldn't activate Pi Avarice. So it's kind of weird things like that. Uh, and it's kind of hard to put a number to how often it happens as well. So yeah, Vortex Trooper. Honestly, Vortex Trooper was great. Um, there was times where I actually wanted to see even more. Um, like one, you don't really see it enough. Two, it's probably the best number, but there was one game where it really messed me up where I did not find Vortex Trooper just for a debris dragon target, and I'll explain that when I get to it. But I don't know, maybe there's a justification for a third one, but it's probably too cloggy. But overall, the card was great. It got me out of a couple, pickles. Where I'll explain it in a little bit, but yeah, overall, just being like a debris target. It replaces itself when it's destroyed. Um, it can shuffle your hand. It's kind of like a magical mallet. So all those things combined, it just makes it a good addition to this deck. And then that's it for the monsters. Um, I decided the Prime Material Dragon where I'd normally main deck it, but decided to just not main deck it for this. I sided it a couple times. There was one time against zombies where I didn't side it because but I was playing against a weird zombie deck where it had like a lot of traps. Like he was saying like 4 or 5 cards like every time. So that was kind of wild. Like he must have been playing like 15 to 20 traps. It was kind of crazy. I already saw his traps. I don't know. But there was time like I had to summon Red Med in a weird situation, and then he had Torrential and Mirror Force. So Prime Material Dragon would have saved me in those situations, but I didn't have it because I didn't side it in. And that's probably like another thing with this build. If you're keeping Reckless Greeds in and stuff post side, it makes it really hard to fit like side cards in. But yeah, onto the spells, to rejuve, trade in. You pretty much keep all the draw cards. Magical Stone was really good this weekend. Um, Probably like the MVP spell in the main deck. Just kind of crazy. 2 Instant Fusion. I tried this. Um, I don't know if I really liked the second Instant Fusion. It didn't really do a whole lot. Uh, I feel like I'd probably just want Giant Trunade. Like it makes it nice sometimes to like get a kill shot because you can go like it gives you an extra monster to summon. So you go like Debris, White Stone. It gives you a little bit more flexibility because then you go like Brionic, spin something. But like the second one just didn't really come up too much. The one cool thing about the second Institution is when you go play against like Blackwings or Vayu Turbo, is when they deck dev you, and then you can activate this under deck dev, whereas normally you want to have a monster to summon like Debris or White Stone. So they probably go like big power play, deck dev push, and it's like they might rip like a White Stone or Debris Dragon, then use to activate Instant Fusion. You probably go like Heavy Storm, Giant Trunade, then Instant Fusion, summon Red Med, and they probably use all their resources at that point. You summon Drago, and it's probably a game at that point. So that's like the one situation where I'd probably like more than one Instant Fusion. Uh, but aside from that, I think one is probably just doable. It's not a card you want to see. Like, obviously, don't want to ever see two Instant Fusion in the hand. I guess it just makes your decision a little easier. Like, you can just ditch it away if you have two in hand, if you go Rejuve play. But overall, it wasn't like an all-star card to me, and wasn't really too noticeable about the second one coming up. Then obviously the God cards, Card Destruction, Future Fusion. I played against Rodnock, my teammate, during a destruction. Round 1, we got paired round 1 of this tournament, and I opened Card Destruction game 1 and 3, and I think in both scenarios it let me just dig through my entire deck first turn. So yeah, card is insane. I'd argue it might even be more broken than Future Fusion in this deck. Future Fusion's good. Yeah, in this build you play. So normally I play like Guard or Clear Vice. I definitely play Prime in my normal build. So I think I usually have one more Dragon than this build. And just having like a low, you kind of get in a dangerous spot where you're playing so little dragons, because then you don't have enough food for Future Fusion. So you're having to send stuff like imagine you just have you have a dead hand, you have Future Fusion trade in, and it's like okay, you have like 6 or 7 dragons left in deck, and you have to send a White Stone to get to Blue Eyes so you activate trade in, but then you're having to also ditch stuff like Debris Dragon for this Darkness Metal Dragon, which is stuff you want to draw into. So it's really an awkward position. It came up multiple times in the tournament, so I feel like you have to play like at least 1 or 2 more dragons than this current list is playing. Again, a lot of times it won't catch you, but if you like open Future Fusion or like open it kind of early, but if you're digging through your deck and you draw it at some point, and it's like, okay, well, I need to get to a Blue Eyes to activate trade in, but I also have to ditch these guys. And then you're kind of relying on Pot of Avarice, and it came up one time. It actually lost me a game where I was digging for Pot of Avarice, and Pot of Avarice was like the bottom 2 cards in my deck, so I can't activate Pot of Avarice at that point. I kind of hate how that works, but it was just like an unfortunate situation. Um, so yeah, that was also, like one thing with Future Fusion. Like just needed a couple more dragons potentially just to make it work. Obviously Heavy Storm, Pyavers. I have my old build last year. Used to play 2, but opening his cards is so bad. So most times, majority like I'd say like 80 to 90%, like you're gonna be fine with just playing the 1. But there's like very few times where like a second one would be nice. But overall, first one or just only 1 copy is just good, and then you got the 3 upstarts, and then 3 reckless greeds. Now this build did not main deck Giant Trunade, which I was it was a bit of a head scratcher when I first saw it, but again, kind of like similar to Tragodia, like you just want to have 1 sweeper. If you open Heavy Storm and Giant Trunade, it could be a bit bricky. Same thing with Tragodia and Gores. It can be a bit bricky if you open both. You get a little slow start, and you're just kind of replacing those multiples with draw cards like Reckless Greed. I did consider cutting the Instant Fusion for a Giant Trunade, but Instant Fusion can kind of help you as a starter. But I think there was a few times where I missed Giant Trunade in the main deck, so I just wish it was I wish deck list size was just like 43 cards or something. So everyone had to play 43, and it's like, okay, I could fit Prime Material, Giant Trunade, and something else in to make it work. But yeah, again, deck size is really tight. Just have to make the magic formula work. So yeah. Upstarts. So I played in a 3v3 a couple weeks ago with Dragon Turbo, and Upstarts was like really screwing me because I was playing against frogs and I couldn't get the game shot. Like I'll go through my deck and everything, but like I couldn't get a game shot, so I was like, okay, I had to make like a mini push, and then they would have some crazy crackback play that was like out of the ordinary, I feel, and just they would win the game. So that was kind of annoying. This tournament, it didn't really come up at all. It wasn't like a factor, so Upstart was good. And then 3 Reckless Greed. This card, it wasn't too crazy. Like if you ever open like 2, you're just gonna pop off, and it's another card to dig for. So you're not just digging for Druids. You can dig for like a set, like 2 Reckless Greeds in your set, pretty much. Because if you're drawing 4, your next turn, you're probably just gonna win. But I didn't really see multiple Reckless Greeds. I only ever saw like 1, and drawing into it kind of sucks. Like you dig some cards and you find Reckless Greed. It's like, okay, well, this isn't too useful because then like you have to set it and then you have to activate it. So it's a little slow. If you're only seeing them like in singles, it's really slow. But you have so many draw cards that hopefully you find double. Overall, for this tournament experience, it wasn't really all that useful. There was one time where I was able to use it to prevent myself from decking out, where I had like 1 or 2 cards left in deck, but I had a 2 turn I can't speak a 2 turn timer to prevent myself from drawing in the standby phase, so or in the draw phase. So overall, Reckless Greed was, again, drawing cards. You can't really go wrong with it. But that, like, I don't know. I miss the utility sometimes of like more dragons, like Prime Material Dragon, Giant Trunade, and whatnot, and Gores. Um, so if I'm gonna keep on running this or not is to be said. But overall, the main deck was pretty good. I felt like, all things said, just again missing some utility and a few shortcomings. Side deck, I think I took out the Consecrated Lights because those aren't very good. I feel they can kind of punish yourself because you can't summon Red Eyes Darkness Metal, and it's a little iffy. It was good last year because the hybrid builds were just going like straight like Greffers and everything, but a lot of builds side like Fossil Dyna and Thunder Kings and various other monsters that aren't dark. So, and then this is a lot more ways to stop Consecrate Light. So I decided to go with like, if I were to play against like a hybrid build, I decided to go with like, okay, Dragos, Book of Moons, and Decrees would just probably do the job. Because if it summons Sirocco, you can just book it, and then you have Decree for deck dev, Icarus attacks. So just beating them down with Dragos would probably be good enough. I didn't really play against like a straight hybrid build, so, and I kind of just like made my deck so I don't side like dumb stuff. Like I never really sided like 3 Book of Moons in. Uh, but it could be good against like certain decks where they're just trying to like combo off or like stun you really hard. Um, but it didn't really come up too much. Side of the Card Trooper, you take this out for a or you take Vortex Trooper, 1 Vortex Trooper out for a Card Trooper. Wasn't too useful. Didn't really do anything crazy. I like Card Trooper, but siding it's a little weird. I guess it's slightly better than Vortex Trooper because you're not taking as much. Like you can fight back, kill like a Thunder King or something like that. Overall, wasn't like too crazy. I like this. I used to like this in the main deck, but I would play 2 Pi Avarice. But you can get away with playing this to 1 Pi Avarice and this in the main deck if you wanted to main deck this, because you do have the magical stones. To get Pi Avarice if you do mill it, so there's that. And this can trigger like white stones and such, so there's that. And then the 2 Dragos, but playing against like, I guess it could be nice if you see fairies or like, again, like hybrid Blackwings, Vayu Turbo potentially. Potentially bring this in against zombies. There's a few decks where you can bring this in. Oh, it's like bringing the second copy is also nice for when you play against a deck that's probably going to bring in DD Crow. In case of DD Crow, you're one Drago. Um, so yeah, and then Prime Material Dragon. Again, I wish there was a few times where I wish I main decked this, but it could be a brick potentially. So like, it's hard to say if this can be like a brick or not in your main deck. Like if you draw it, it's bad, but if you don't draw it, it's good. So it's a little interesting, and it also opens the kill shot a lot easier for Trident Dragon or Dragon. So there's a nice OTK with this card if you do play it. And Book of Moons, I saw it in a few times. I think I brought it in against Zombie, or there was some deck I brought it in. I can't remember off the top of my head, but overall it wasn't like too crazy. Giant Trinade, I pretty much saw this in every game. Um, yeah, just good card. 3 Vortex, I side in 2 a lot because you usually side in. Good as usual, like it's usually the MVP of the side deck. Um, but again, I feel like you probably just need another defensive monster like a Gores or something to keep you alive, and then you can crack back with the Lightning Vortex. And at that point, you probably just win. Like you can make like a, they can have a big board, and if even if they make Stardust Dragon, because like after you Gores, it's like okay, I can make my own Stardust Dragon with the Gores token and Whitestone, and then make a Stardust, and then you Lightning Vortex. They activate their Stardust, you activate your Stardust, and sometimes you don't even care if they activate Stardust because you can still OTK them. So yeah, really good card. Um, don't really see anything wrong with this or anything replacing it. World Decrees. Um, I started this thing in Blackwings one time, but he just like OTK'd me, so it didn't really help all that much. And then Royal Oppression was for against like weird decks like GBs and X Sabers if I haven't played against them. Decided against a couple other things like um, zombies or potentially even Diva Hero. It's a little situational against those decks. So, and the extra deck was the same as Ghost Riders. I played 2 Darkfire, but I don't think the second one came up. Dragonus, I don't think I summoned him. Uh, then Mariner. Uh, I summoned 5-headed a couple times. So it's kind of funny, but Ojama Knight. Um, this didn't come up very much, like with the High Avarice and put Brionic back, and then you can. The reason you play is so you can debris it back, but it didn't really come up. Cataster, didn't think I summoned it. I summoned Ancient Fairy a couple times. Ariarm I summoned once, I believe. Black Rose, I think I Black Rose a field one time. Brionic I made a few times. Uh, Goya I think I made once. I didn't make Iron Chain or Trident Dragon, and I think I made Stardust Dragon one time. So extra deck didn't really come up all that much. Overall, the build was okay. This wasn't too crazy. There was just like a few times where I missed the utility of what I would normally be playing. So yeah, I was getting into some situations that came up, some good, some bad, and we'll get into it. So yeah, I had a so round 1 I played against Ronak, and he was playing his Frog Gear Town deck, and I won that match. Round 2, I don't know what I'm playing against yet because I'm going first, and this is a situation that came up, and I don't mind the main deck being in the graves. It's just like my opening hand, just so I can access things easier on Dueling Book. But so yeah, this is my opening hand. Now I kind of went for like a. So what I should have done is just go Rejuve, activate Magical Stone, ditch Blue Eyes and Drago, add back Rejuve, then I can set Vortex Trooper, and then I can just draw 4. Now that's what I should have done, but I kind of went for a greed play. I think I sent Magical Stone and like Drago back and hoping I can like draw into a trade in or something, or you know something just like dig a little deeper. But I was only in a situation where I sent those back I think, and then I drew like another Super Juve and like something else, uh maybe a Tragodia. I don't remember exactly what happened. I remember I drew a second Rejuve. So Now it's like, okay, now I have one dragon to discard. This is not ideal. And then he just had like a crazy opening where he went like Whirlwind, Sirocco, get Bora, and he opened Trap Dust Shoot and Icarus Attack. And then I died the following turn. So I guess the safer play would have just been like, okay, draw 4, Vortex Trooper dies, I draw another card. So I start my next hand with 8 cards at least, and then so yeah, I should have just done with the Rejuve play, but that was one mistake I made. This was kind of like a greedy line I did. Uh, so that was kind of like one. I don't even know if it's. I don't even think it's a hindsight mistake. Like I think the upside was in the favor of just going magical or Rejuve Magical Stone for my first turn, but that didn't go my way. And then the second game, I just kind of got blown out against the Blackwing guy because he opened like Sirocco, Whirlwind, Dark Armed, and it was just a little crazy. Like if you're playing Blackwings and you're seeing Dark Arm, Whirlwind a lot, then it's just your day. So that was my. So I was start off 1-1 in this tournament, and overall, I don't think I said it yet, but I went. I started off 4-2, and there was 7 rounds of Swiss in day 1, and then I lost the last round, so I went 4-3 overall. When I could have made day 2 if I went 5-2. So after starting 1-1, I'm playing against Asian with Cards. That's his YouTube name. I'm playing against him, and he is on Black Wings. I think it's hybrid because he's on Greffers and stuff. And this is just like the generic situation. I think I rejuved into a hand. I don't remember what my hand was exactly. It wasn't this. And I had more cards in deck, obviously, but I had Tragodia, Reckless Greed. He had like Sirocco on field. Um, yeah, so he had Sirocco on field, Whirlwind, and like a back row, and he had Ashura as well. So, and he attacked me a bunch. I was at 22. I think I was at 2,200 life points at this point. So like, I'm really low on life points. I summoned Tragodia, and then my turn, I think I discarded Drago to take his Shura, and I had some just like random other card in my hand. Was that card destruction because that was in my hand at some point. I and I couldn't really do much. So I just did a Rejuve play, and I got up to like 5 in hand. I set Reckless Greed, and so this is kind of like the configuration where I had 5 in hand. I have Reckless Greed set. I have his Shura, and then Tragodia on my field. So Tragodia's at 3,000, and I know he searched a Kalute the following turn, or the turn before. So he has Kalute in hand, Sirocco on field, Black Whirlwind. He goes his turn. He summons Shura, and I'm only at 2,200. Again, keep that in mind. He summons Shura, and gets. He searches another Kalute off the Shura. Now, I think he messed up quite a bit here because he could have just gone, add Bora. He could add Bora, summon Bora, pump, run over the, token for a game. And again, playing Dragon Turbo doesn't really play any defense. Like, I imagine he probably knows this Reckless Greed, but I'm not even sure if he. I think he mentioned that he wasn't really sure how this deck functions or something along those lines. Uh, so yeah, I'm really low on life. So that was one line. He could have summoned Bora, pump, ran over. He could have searched Gale, and special summon Gale, have Tragodia, you can make Dark End Dragon, get rid of the Tragodia, Shura run over token, or sorry, not token. Shura is his Shura in this situation. Then he gets to summon Shura effect, to summon Kalute, and that would have been game as well because he had another Kalute in hand. So he had like multiple lines of killing me this turn, but he probably went with the worst line. Whereas he went, so he added a Kalute. So he has 2 Kalutes in hand now because he added off the Whirlwind again with Shura. So he did Shura run over his Shura, and then he was able to summon Gale from his deck. Then he went Sirocco attack Tragodia. Now Tragodia is at 3,000 attack at this point. So I was like, okay, Reckless Greed, and obviously I don't have one card in the deck, but I draw two cards. Tragodia goes up to 4,200, which forces him to activate both Kalutes, and then he got an attack in with uh, Gale. So I'll just represent that I have two more cards in hand. Again, I don't remember the exact layout of my hand. It wasn't very good, despite having 7 cards in hand. And then I think he proceeded to make like a Stardust Dragon with his Sirocco and Gale, or something along those lines. Um, and anyways, I was able to card destruction and then like get through his field, and he just, again, I was really low on life points, and I card destruction, and I summoned like, my field was like something like this to get over his board. I don't remember if he made Colossal Fighter. I might have summoned Drago. Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't remember the exact layout, but that's how I won that game. So yeah, he could have done like multiple things to win that game, but just didn't happen. So I was able to sneak that one out. So that was kind of cool. I did the Reckless Greed to make Tragodia big enough, so you had to use double Kalute. Okay, so this is kind of like another layout of, this is game 2 against Asian with cards. Game 1 was just the thing where I won with Tragodia somehow. This is kind of like the layout of the situation. So he made like a big board of like armed wing, something else, and if I didn't, I'd already done like super rejuve, draw a bunch of cards at this point. This is kind of like the layout of my hand and field. I believe this it's pretty close, if not the same thing. So he did like armed wing attack. I summoned Tragodia. He did some stuff. I think he killed the Tragodia somehow. Anyways, he might have ran it over with like another armed wing. I'm not exactly sure what the situation was, but anyways, his turn. I think I'm under Reckless Greed, so I'm not drawing. His turn, my standby phase. He goes Deck Devastation Virus. So I think I lost the Breed Dragon and something else. So it's kind of like the layout of my hand, I think. And I had to do some play where, and I have both Infusions still in my deck, I think. So I did some, I don't remember this exact situation. I might have had Giant Trunade, I'm not sure, but I did something where I Magical Stone back Pi Avarice. Then I Pi Avarice back, I might have not even had Blue Eyes in my hand at this point, I'm not sure. But and this is like about like kind of what's in my deck left, like trade in, like double infusion. So like I needed to get a way to get a monster so I can summon red mids. And I think he had one back row left at this point, so I kind of returned this. I returned another Blue Eyes. I returned a Vortex Trooper. And I don't think I returned any Debris Dragons because those don't really help me. Might have a White Stone, and there's some other monster, but I ended up drawing a Blue Eyes, I think, and maybe a Red Eyes. So I was like, okay, I'll go trade in. Then I think I drew another trade in and Vortex Trooper. And I added Vortex Trooper back to my deck because when I would draw it, it would destroy itself because of deck dev. Then I drew another card because of Vortex Trooper. It has to be destroyed. It doesn't have to be destroyed on the field. So, and he didn't really, I don't think he knew deck dev didn't work on all draws. He thought it was just like the draw phase. So that was interesting. But at some point, I made the situation where Pi Avarice would work in my favor to get to Infusion, which I think I had 2 in deck, so like I think I might have had to do trade in again, and then I got to the Infusion and I was able to go like Infusion, so I'm red mid, Drago, run over his field. And that was how that game ended, because like he pretty much invested everything into his field. So those are kind of like 2 situations where it was like really cool. I was able to play through game 1, and then game 2 I played through deck dev because of that scenario. So that was pretty cool. So yeah, my next round after beating Blackwing, so I'm 2-1, and then I'm playing as Diva Hero now, like a true hero plays. And my opponent goes first, game 1. He says like 2 or 3 back row. Then he goes Trap Does Shoot. So he returns my Debris Dragon in the deck, and then he goes immediately after Mind Crush, discard my card destruction. So this kind of left me in a weird situation. I think at Upstart I drew something, and then I Vortex Trooper. Um, I think I put this and something else back that I just drew off the Upstart. And I drew like, I think I remember I had like 2 Magical Stones in my hand at this point. So then I was like, okay, Magical Stone, Stone Excavation, get card destruction, add 2 Blue Eyes. So the fact they opened Trap Dushu and Mind Crush game 1 was kind of crazy. And then I did this, I think. And I was eventually just, I think I drew into a Rejuve at some point, and I was able to get out of the situation, but I don't remember exactly if he opened slow or what happened. I remember he had like a Colossal Fighter on the field at some point, and then I killed it game 1. Game 2, I ended up just like losing, and then game 3, something else cool happened. Okay, so this is game 3 against Diva Hero. This is kind of like the layout. I have, I think I card destruction the turn before, or like the turn of I got this hand. But I had gone Future Fusion, went through the whole deck and everything. And I was a little, I think I took some life points at this point. So I did, this is where I was talking about like the Tragodia thing where I needed to dig for Tragodia. So this is kind of like the general layout of my hand. Now this Heavy Storm, this is post side, so this is actually Giant Trunade in hand, which is important. So yeah, I had to go Rejuve down to 1 card left in deck, which I didn't want to do, because then I can't activate Pyavris. But I had to define Tragodia. Otherwise, I was probably going to lose that following turn. So this is my layout. I think I have like this random card set, trade in, cards of constants. And he makes a board, and he sets some back row. I Tragodia because I was going to die if I didn't. And then he set like, he had 3 back row set, and so I didn't draw because of Reckless Greed. So Reckless Greed kind of saved me there with 1 card left in deck. And then he goes Trap Dust Shoot. I'm okay. He put Debris Dragon back, so now I have 2 cards left in deck. And then he went Mind Crush again, Trap Dust Shoot, Mind Crush again. He got rid of both red mids. So in most scenarios, you just lose here because all your red mids are gone. You don't have a lot going. But I was able to go Giant Trunade. So everything goes back to hand. So again, Giant Trunade, this is like a proxy at this point. Heavy Storm is. And then I go Magical Stone, ditch, for like Pot Iris back. And I was able to just like, the rest of my deck was just pretty much like red mids and Debris Dragons. Something like that. I don't remember if I had Tragodia on the field at this point. You might have Darkened Dragoned it. I don't remember. But then, yeah, then I was able to just like somehow dig into like a field where I can just like kill him because I just Trunaded him, and then he just has some random monsters on the field, and I was able to get Debris red mid on field. Some configuration, but that was a really cool play I was managed to do. So at this point, I played through a deck dev. I played through double Trap Dust Shoot Mind Crush. So it's just kind of cool because people think like, oh, if you Mind Crush dragons, like you just win. But I've at some point, like several times at this point, played through Mind Crush. So it's pretty cool. Like it's obviously good, but you can still play through it with this deck. So my next opponent was zombies. I think he was just playing regular zombies, like with divas, obviously, like diva zombie. But this is my opponent that I was saying that had like a bunch of traps in his deck. I'm not sure how many traps he was playing. He was playing like, well, he didn't have Yadas. He just had Jar Greeds. So he was playing Jar Greed, like 3 of them, and he just had like the same amount of traps. But I managed to win game 1, and game 2, I had a situation where, let's see, I had Future Fusion, and I had a board of like red med, blue eyes. I had to make red med, blue eyes to run over. I didn't want to summon Drago because then it'll shut off my Future Fusion, so I went with red eyes, blue eyes. I I ran over something on his field, like some synchro, and then I just attacked his attack mode Spear Reaper for like a bunch of damage. And he changed Spear Reaper to defense, and this wasn't the hand I had for this scenario, but I think at this point I had Instant Fusion and Debris Dragon, and he had a bunch of back row still. And Future Fusion hasn't resolved yet. I think I was in a scenario where I didn't have a big hand. I only had Debris Dragon in hand, but I had Magical Stone Excavation, so I was like, um, well, I can go like make Stardust Dragon to protect my field here, and I just have to wait like 1 or 2 turns to get enough so I can go Magical Stone for Lightning Vortex, and Lightning Vortex his Reaper, and then like it clears that. So I had this. Again, this wasn't my current hand, but I know I had like Instant Fusion in hand. Or I don't even think I had Instant Fusion. No, I didn't have Instant Fusion. So I had gone. So he passed back to me after changing Reaper to defense, and I went Summon Debris Dragon, get Vortex Trooper, and then Red Eyes summon Whitestone. Now here, I could have made Army Arm and attached to his Reaper. His Reaper dies, which is what I should have done. I feel like, because then that just gets Reaper off the field. Then I can potentially attack for game. Again, I don't know what his back row are at this point. Um, in hindsight, and I definitely should have just gone with this Army Arm play, because okay, if he clears this field, I have a follow-up 5-headed dragon, but I also didn't have a lot in hand, so I was like, kind of like playing it passively, like, okay, well he has to come at me and break my board, like, so I kind of went with this play instead, so where I made, again, I have these two, and I think I made like Ancient Fairy Dragon. Where's Ancient Fairy Dragon? And then I want these two into a Stardust Dragon. Okay, so you would have to clear this field and a follow-up 5-headed dragon. And I think I ended on this field that turn, or maybe it was like 1 turn pass. Okay, he didn't really do anything. And then I summoned 5-headed dragon. I think I was literally at 2,500, so um, he went like, he mind controlled my Stardust Dragon that he had set. So then he took my Stardust Dragon, then he flip return, summoned Plague Spider Mizuki, and then he made Mistworm, spin these 3 into his attack for game. I was like, okay. So he had Mind Control, return set, and then I don't know if he just drew return at that point, but he could have definitely done that like a couple turns before. I just don't know if he realized it. So that was like kind of annoying. It's like I had everything going for me this game, and I just couldn't like get the out to Spear Reaper, which I play a bunch. I mean, I have Lightning Vortexes, Instant Fusions. If I played Prime Material Dragon, that would have helped. Just because you can make Exploder Dragon Wing, which isn't in this extra deck, but it's an option to just run it over. So like that was like unfortunate. It's like okay, whatever. Game 3. Okay, so game 3 against the zombie player. This is this is how kind of like the game started. This wasn't like my hand starting out, but this was a like later situation. But I sided in Drago, second Drago going second, but I took out the second Drago going first because I brought in Reckless Greeds and stuff. But I opened kind of slow, so I think I passed, and then he says some background pass, and I summoned Drago, or I think I normal summoned Drago turn 1, and then turn 2 I attack with Drago, and he like de-prisons it. So I'm like, okay. I guess like it's just people have other things they can side out, but it's annoying when I just like you see like random battle traps, whereas battle traps don't really do anything against this deck. Say okay. So you de-prison, I have 1 Drago ahead. Wasn't too crazy. It's like okay, I can still do stuff. Anyways, I got to a certain up to this point where my hand's like this. It got to a point where it was like he kept on like he's summoning Reaper. It's like okay, and he just kept on like poking me. Like it wasn't really doing anything for a while. Like yeah, he was getting poked in, but he's just discarding like random cards. Didn't really matter. But I destroyed the Reaper like 4 times at least. It was a very weird game, but you just had like ways to bring it back. Like there was a time where he was like, "I destroyed Reaper." He called the Haunted back. Um, he Mizuki'd it back. He Mizuki'd it back. He'd use Burial. So he put Mizuki back in grave and then used Mizuki to summon Reaper. So this thing came out like on the field like 4 times. So it's not like I couldn't get rid of it. It's just you come on summoning it back. Um, Anyways, I got to a point where I had Rejuve for 6. I think my last card I had was like Lightning Vortex. So I had double Debris, double Red Med, Heavy Storm, Lightning Vortex. And at this point, like I had like way more cards. I think I was like pretty much essentially like 3/4 of the way through my deck, at least I think. And I didn't see Giant Tornado, either Instant Fusion or either Vortex Troopers. And he had like Spirit Reaper, a bunch of back row. I think he had like 4 back row. So this was like my hand. Double Debris, double Red Med, Heavy Storm, and like Lightning Vortex. He goes Reaper attacks, and I like laid my hand on the field. He rolled a dice to pick which card, and he randomly selects Heavy Storm. I was like, oh my gosh, kidding me. And I might have been at under Reckless Greed at this point. I don't remember, but I was just like, what like what am I supposed to do? Like I could set Debris Dragon. Um, I don't remember exactly what happened, but that was like really annoying. And then the fact that I didn't see any of these cards, like normally I could just go like Debris Dragon, summon Vortex Trooper, make Black Rose blow up the field. He had Solemn Judgment set, but like I could have gone like Debris Dragon blow up field twice or something like that because I had 2 in hand. So that was just like obnoxious. And I eventually lost the game, pretty much because he sniped the Heavy Storm out of my hand out of 6 cards. So that was like it didn't matter if he hit Debris Dragon or Red Med. Like he would have had to Solemn the Heavy Storm, and then like again, if I saw like any of these other cards like just digging through my entire deck, then it would have been game. But like I eventually lost. I don't remember how I lost, but I think like Spirit Reaper was like way more obnoxious that match like than it really usually is or needs to be. So yeah, at this point I was 4-2, and then I knew like it was only top 8 cut into like for the tournament to like continue. So I was kind of like just bummed out at this point and annoyed with I guess the Spirit Reaper thing. Like I shouldn't have lost, but you know it was just like one of those games that just got away from you kind of thing. It's like how did I lose that kind of like there wasn't really much I could have done. I felt like like I think the utility, not having the utility there, really messed me up because like having Gores there would have been good to stop me getting Reapered, Prime Material to make Exploder or something to like having Giant Trunade in the main deck could help sometimes. So like I was just a little frustrated at this point. And then my last round, I played against Video Turbo. I did like a or I did like card destruction. I set Magical Stone Excavation, and I did card destruction because it's like okay, if I draw like a couple dragons and Rejuve, then like I could just go crazy. So I discarded a couple dragons, I think, and then I got to a point where it's like I didn't find Rejuve, so I was like okay, um, even though I dug like 10 cards in my deck or something, and then I passed, and then my turn back, and then I drew Rejuve for turn. I was like, all right, you kidding me? So if I had just like got rid of my entire hand instead of setting Magical Stone Excavation, I would have found Super Rejuve and probably won that game. He set like game 1, he set 3 back row, and I was like, okay, just and I think I saw him playing Video Turbo because he sat diagonal to me like one of the games or at some point in the tournament. So he set like a monster, set 3 back row, and then I went, okay, Heavy Storm, it's gonna be Solemn or not Solemn, and then he activated Starlight. I was like, okay, sure. And then I made the Whitestone play where I was like Whitestone, Instant Fusion because I Rejuvenate a couple dragons. So and then I make Brionic, and he had Bottomless as well. So now I just lost that game. So yeah, game 2 against Vayu Turbo. I was in a situation where I had like I don't remember what exactly this. This was kind of like the situation. I don't remember like the amount of cards left in deck or what my field was at the time, but this is kind of what happened. So I have like something similar to this in my deck left, and I have like Future Fusion Trade in, and I knew if I just by looking at my grave, just that if I went Future Fusion, I would have to like add Blue Eyes, but I'd have to send like debris dragons and red mids to the grave in order to do that to get a trade in. So my win con here was to not have Pot Avarice on the bottom 2 cards of my deck. So I went like Future Fusion, because if I go Pot Avarice, then I can add everything back. So I had to go ditch that, ditch this, and White Stone, because I had a White Stone left, and then add Blue Eyes back. I don't remember, again, I don't remember how many cards I had left in deck at this point, but I think it was more than 4, but I was like, maybe it was like 8 or so. So I had to like go draw, and again, I had some more cards left in deck, but I was just pretty much having to hope that Pot Avarice was in the bottom 2, and it was really on the bottom of my deck. So that's how I like lost game 2 against VO. And I think that kind of goes to like I don't have enough dragons in deck. Otherwise, I wouldn't have to send red mids and debris dragons and stuff. I would still have stuff in deck to win the game there. So kind of awkward. But if I didn't do the Future Fusion thing, that was like I'm just kind of sitting there not doing a lot. And I don't remember what his field presence was, but I don't think he had much going on himself. So maybe I could have waited. I'm not sure, but it was just like a awkward situation that came up. So ended up going 4-3. There's a couple things I feel like I messed up on, but overall I feel like I made a couple good plays that like saved me. Some crazy plays like the Trap Dust Shoot, Mind Crush thing, and Deck Dev were kind of cool situations. But overall the deck didn't feel bad. It's just like a couple weird situations like the Reaper stuff, and then it was just kind of annoying, and it knocked me out of the tournament. I could have technically I think I ended up 66 overall in the tournament, which isn't crazy or anything. I could technically, if I placed a couple places higher, I could have technically played day 2, but there's no point in that because I wasn't gonna make top cut anyways. They should have made it top 16 because that's what it mathematically should have been if it was 300 players. But it was just top 8 instead. So, but yeah, overall, I enjoyed the tournament experience. The deck was okay. Didn't really. It's not like I bricked maybe like all but like one game. So like the deck was very consistent overall. It's just like I was just again a couple very odd situations where it's like okay, I lost because of like Spear Reaper, which is just funny because normally this deck doesn't have a problem with Spear Reaper. But thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, dislike and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.